So here we are with our data. We want to turn this into our graph. So you're going to highlight all of your information from the top left to the bottom right. If you go the other way, your data is not going to come out the way you expect it to. So top left, bottom right, always, always, always. So you're going to go to Insert, just like before, except now we have different types of sodas. We don't have numbers for our independent variable. So now we need to make what you've grown up knowing as a bar graph. We actually in Excel call them column graphs. So let's try this again. Highlight this, highlight this all, because you have to tell the computer what data to deal with. Now look at this. If you click bar, this is what you're used to growing up. If you click bar, you're going to get these weird sideways bars, kind of like rows going across. That's probably not what you grew up with, these weird sideways graphs. So we're not going to use the word bar. Instead, you're going to use column. These are going to be up and down vertical columns. And this is what you grew up thinking about when you envisioned a bar graph. So we're going to click this first one here. Can you get fancy and play with 3D ones? Sure. Do we need to? No. Just a straight up regular column graph is fine. All right. So we have our graph. It needs some help. It needs a title. It needs axes labels. And it needs major grid lines. So we have some things to do here before we're ready to jump it over to Microsoft Word. The first thing is we never graph multiple trials. We only graph the averages. So here's a quick way to get rid of trial 1 and trial 2. Click on trial 1. Notice that all the blue bars are highlighted. Hit delete. Click on trial 2. All the red bars are highlighted. Click delete. And now you're left with just the averages. Again, you can play with them, you could change their colors, you could do whatever you'd like. The less craziness you have on your paper, the better. Ideally, just white with your gray bars, so you're not using a lot of ink when you print these out. Okay, so let's put on a title, a good title. So click on here, highlight it, and then the relationship between or the effect of. So we'll put the relationship between the type of soda and the height of the geyser. And then make sure you put your name or your initials. Now notice that my graph got kind of small here. I don't want that. I want a nice big graph. So I'm going to click the corner and drag it, and now all of a sudden it's much easier to read. If I try to look at this and say, tell me the exact number here for this Diet Coke explosion, you might have a hard time. You know it's upwards of 300 something, but you don't know exactly how much. If you spread it out, then it's a little bit easier to see that it's a little bit above 300. So we have more details here. And then we're going to add on some lines and stuff. So try to make your graph nice and big. All right, we gave the whole entire graph a title. Now let's give the little guy his title. Remember, we're clicking on the graph, then we click Layout, and we get all these fancy tools. Axis titles, so we want to put a primary horizontal axis below the axis. So we could just put types of soda. And then we're going to put something on the vertical axis. And then we can put height of, oh actually this isn't height of geyser, is this? This is the amount of soda left after explosion. AXPLOSILENT. Okay, and then we have to use some sort of unit here. So this happens to be measured in milliliters. So let's go back and change this title. The relationship between the type of soda and the amount, or we'll say volume, left over. So we can keep the word average here to indicate that this is an average amount, or we could delete it. Maybe we can put the word average in our title and the average volume. I guess don't double click that. The average volume left over. And if so, you can get rid of that, since that doesn't tell us much. And that's it. Looks pretty good, except for our grid lines. So let's put some grid lines in. So go to grid lines. We have the horizontal ones already. Let's add some major vertical. And there we go. All right, so now we have our data and our graph. Let's go back to our data so we could jump it over. So highlight from the top left to the bottom right, hit Control Copy, or just right-click Copy. Go to Word. Make sure you hit Enter a bunch of times, and then go back up, leave a space, and then hit Control V to paste. Okay, so click the magic button up here. That little box is going to highlight the whole table, and everything we do is going to be applied to the whole table. So click this box. Now we have our lines everywhere. We want to center the whole table. We also want to adjust it because this looks a little bit sloppy. We've got trial 1 down here, trial 2 up there, but the milliliters down here. So maybe we can adjust the column size or the column width. So we'll spread this out a little bit. We can spread this out because that's a very wide column. Spread this out. And there we go. The last thing we want to do is center all of our data. So highlight your data and just click center. And now it looks pretty good. If you want, you can boldface your headers. Just hit bold up there so it sets it out a little bit. And now let's go get our graph. So put your cursor below it, hit enter a couple times, leave at least one space so you can get in there and edit so they don't get glued together. Go back to Excel, put your cursor in here, hit Control C, or right click copy if you like that better. Go back and hit Control V, or just paste. And there's our graph.